Chosen one. God is using two words today that he does not use carelessly: absolute, final. When he places those two words together, he is not creating atmosphere. He is describing a specific reality about the window you are currently standing in. And the reason he is asking you not to turn away is because turning away from a final message is a different category of response than turning away from a message that will come again. What those two words mean together is this: the specific arrangement God made for the full execution of your assignment is right now at the peak of its accessibility. The word absolute removes every comfortable story about thinking it over later. The word final removes every assumption that a version of this window will return in the same condition it is in right now. I am telling you this so that you do not mistake the comfort of deferral for permission to wait. Most people who miss final windows do not miss them dramatically. They do not make a decision to walk away from God. They get distracted. They plan to return to the weight of what they felt when they first heard it. They allow the urgency to soften from something that requires movement to something that can be added to a list. And the window closes, not because God closes it in frustration, but because the design of the window included a peak, and the peak passes when the moment passes. That is the mechanism. And this message exists so you recognize it while the peak is still here. Let me give you 5 signs that confirm this is the final message that belongs to this season of your life. The first sign is that you have been sensing closure, not an ending that feels like loss, a closing that feels like completion. The sense that a season that has been running for a long time is approaching its conclusion. The work of the season is nearly finished. The formation is nearly complete, and what was being built through the years of preparation is almost ready to be walked into rather than continued to be prepared for. This sensing of closure is not wishful thinking. It is the internal register of the chosen one, detecting a real change in the spiritual landscape. The same way you can feel in your body when a storm is about to break before the first cloud appears on the horizon, you can feel in your spirit when a season is about to turn. And what you have been feeling is the approach of the turn. The final message always arrives at the turn, not after it, at it. The distinction matters deeply. Waiting for confirmation that the turn has already happened means missing the window that the turn opened. The final message is the message God sends to the person who is in the window, not the person who is looking back at where the window was. And you are in the window right now. The urgency of this message is not manufactured. It is the urgency of a God who is watching the window and asking you to move before the fullness of what it is releasing passes. The second sign is that you have had a recurring experience recently where something important arrived and you did not receive it at the full weight it carried. A word in prayer that was specific and clear, and that dissolved before you could act on it with the force it deserved. A direction that was unmistakable and that somehow did not result in the full movement the direction called for. An impression that was too clear to be accidental and too heavy to be comfortable, and that you found yourself carrying rather than acting on. This is not a description of failure. It is a description of a receiver that is operating below its designed capacity. The word was real. The direction was real. The impression was real. The gap was not in the transmission. The gap was in the instrument that was supposed to hold what was transmitted long enough for the full response to follow. And the recurring nature of this experience is not evidence that the gap is permanent. It is evidence that the gap has not yet been addressed. The final message is the address. What this sign is pointing at is not more effort or more sincerity. Both have been present and both have been real. What it is pointing at is the specific restoration of the physiological receiving capacity that allows a command to land and hold through to execution. That restoration is what God is leading you toward through this message. And the fact that the pattern has recurred recently is the timing signal. The final message arrives when the pattern is recent enough to be recognized clearly. The third sign is that the social landscape of your life has been shifting. People who were present in the previous season are less present. New connections have arrived that feel oriented toward the future rather than rooted in the past. The network of relationships that surrounds you has been reorganizing itself in a way you have sensed without having a full framework to understand. God reconfigures the relational landscape before he launches the assignment. He positions the people who belong to the season ahead and moves back the people whose role was in the season behind. This is not abandonment, and it is not random, it is preparation. The people who are in your life right now include the ones who belong to what is ahead, and the shift you have been sensing is the sign that the launch is approaching, not the sign that you are losing something. When the social landscape shifts in the way it has been shifting around you, the natural response is to focus on what is moving away. What God is asking you to do in this moment is notice what is moving toward you instead. The new connections, the unexpected alignments, the people who have arrived and seem oriented in the same direction you have been sensing God pointing you, they are not coincidences. They are provisions for the assignment. And the assignment is in the closing window. The fourth sign is that God has been unusually particular in what he has been saying to you. Not broad encouragement, not general guidance, specific things. He has pointed at specific situations with specific detail. He has named things that had not been named before. He has been unusually precise about direction and timing and the specific quality of response he is looking for. The particularity of his communication is the sign of the approaching window. God becomes increasingly specific as the moment of assignment approaches, because the assignment requires precise instruction to execute correctly. When he is preparing someone for a general season of growth, the instruction is general. When he is preparing someone for the execution of a specific assignment in a specific window, the instruction becomes specific. And the specificity you have been experiencing is the sign that you are in the preparation phase that immediately precedes the launch. This also explains why the instructions have been harder to act on fully than the general encouragement was. Specific instruction requires a receiver capable of holding specifics, and the receiver that has been operating at partial capacity is better at absorbing general atmosphere than it is at holding and executing specific, precise direction. The final message is the message that addresses the gap between specific instruction and the capacity to hold it. The fifth sign is that something in you refused to let this go. Not just that you are still here, though you are. Something deeper than attention held you. You know the feeling of watching a message and waiting for it to become relevant to you, scanning it from a distance. That is not what happened here. Something in you recognized this before your conscious mind could explain why. That recognition, that pull that would not release, is the receiver in you responding to a transmission it has been calibrated for a long time to receive. That is not an accident, and it is not a product of your self-discipline. The part of you that knows when something is final recognized it before your conscious mind processed the full weight of what is being said. And that prior recognition is the most specific confirmation this message carries. You are not here by accident. You are here because this is yours. Every person who misses a final window had access to it. The message was available. The window was open. What determined whether they stepped through it was whether the weight of what was transmitted held long enough to produce the movement that was required. Your receiver held you here. What this message is about to describe is how to restore the capacity of that receiver so that the next command, the next direction, the next specific instruction God releases holds all the way through to full execution. I want to name what I call the closing window, because the framework will serve you beyond this message. The closing window is the specific period in the life of the chosen one when the arrangement God made for the full execution of the assignment is at the peak of its accessibility, not the beginning of accessibility, not the early middle of a long plateau. The peak. The point at which everything that was arranged is maximally available and the window is at its fullest opening. The period after which, if the window is not used at its fullness, the accessibility begins to narrow again. The closing window does not arrive without preparation. The preparation is exactly what the preceding seasons were doing. Every test, every formation, every character-building difficulty, every season that looked like delay was actually the layering of the preparation for the closing window. When the window opens, the preparation is what qualifies you to step through it. What is on the other side is what the preparation was always building toward. And the reason God is saying absolute final is that the peak of the window is now, not approaching. Now, what prevents most chosen ones from fully using the closing window is not lack of desire. It is the gap between receiving the fullness of what the window is releasing and being able to hold that fullness through to action. The same gap that has been producing the pattern you recognized in sign 2, the same physiological limitation that has been the invisible ceiling on the full expression of your faith, and the specific restoration of the capacity to hold what God releases at the level He releases it at is what the final section of this message carries. Let me take you into the closing window from a different angle, because the concept is more specific than most people realize when they first encounter it. The closing window is not simply a period of heightened opportunity. It is the specific moment in the formation to assignment cycle when the person who was being prepared and the provision that was being prepared have both reached the readiness level the assignment requires simultaneously. The preparation is the person. The provision is the circumstance. And the closing window is the moment they are both at maximum readiness at the same time. God arranges both simultaneously. He does not bring the provision to a person who is not yet ready for it. He does not prepare the person and then allow the provision to evaporate before the person arrives. He coordinates, and the coordination produces a window, a specific period in which both are ready, and the movement through the window is what the entire preceding season was building toward. The word absolute in this message is the announcement that the coordination is complete. Both sides of the window are ready, and the window is at its fullest opening. This coordination is documented throughout the history of the people of God. Elijah knew it was his time. He said to Elisha, "Ask what I shall do for you before I am taken from you." The window was open, the provision was available, and what Elisha asked in that moment determined what he received. Elisha could have asked for blessing in general terms. He asked for a double portion. The specificity of the ask matched the fullness of the window, and he received what he asked for at exactly the level he asked for it. The lesson of that moment is not primarily about boldness in prayer. It is about the relationship between the capacity of the receiver and the fullness of what the open window releases. Elisha had spent years in preparation alongside Elijah. He had been formed. He had been tested. He had internalized the weight of prophetic responsibility. He knew the gravity of the window he was standing in. And because he knew the gravity at the full level it deserved, he received at the level the gravity allowed. His receiver was operating at full capacity. Most chosen ones stand at their closing window and receive at less than full capacity, not because they do not want the fullness. Because the receiver is not operating at the level that holds the full weight of a maximally open window, and what they receive is real and it is valuable, but it is not the double portion. It is not the fullness of what the window was offering, And the gap between what was offered and what was received is not a failure of faith. It is the cost of the weight gap operating in the most significant moment of the chosen one formation. Think about Joseph. The pit was not the window. The prison was not the window. The closing window was the moment Pharaoh called for someone to interpret his dream. Everything before that moment, every humiliation, every year of the preparation that looked from the outside like abandonment, was the building of the formation. And when the window opened, the formation was what qualified Joseph to step through it. What made Joseph able to hold the weight of that moment at full capacity was the state of a person whose preparation had been so thorough that every capacity required by the assignment was fully developed. He received the dream of Pharaoh and interpreted it and proposed the 7-year plan in one continuous movement of clarity. There was no gap between the receiving and the acting. The receiver held everything at full weight through to full execution, and the result was the assignment at its full expression. Your preparation has been real. The formation of the seasons has been real. And what is positioned for you in the closing window matches the fullness of the preparation. The only question is whether the receiver can hold the weight of what the window is releasing at the level it is releasing it at. And the answer to that question is the specific thing this message was sent to address. Now, I want to describe what happens when the closing window is not fully entered, because understanding the cost creates the kind of clarity that most spiritual conversations avoid. Imagine standing in front of a window and watching the light inside it change, not going dark, just narrowing. The opening still there, still real, still casting warmth. But the angle shifting, the fullness that was there 10 minutes ago, no longer exactly there. You can feel it in your chest, the awareness that something is moving, and the question is whether you are moving with it. That is what partial entry into a closing window feels like from the inside. Not a dramatic loss, a quiet narrowing that the receiver registers before the mind can name it. When the closing window is partially entered, the result is a life that looks from the outside like progress, but feels from the inside like a persistent gap between what was available and what was accessed. The chosen one who partially entered their closing window carries a quality of awareness that something more was supposed to happen in that season, not a vague sense of regret, a specific awareness of the shape of what was offered and what was received. And that awareness becomes the motivating weight for the season that follows. God does not waste partial entries, He builds from them. The partial entry into one closing window becomes the preparation for a fuller entry into the next. And the message being delivered in these terms today is not a condemnation of the partial entries that preceded it. It is the announcement that the fullest window is now open, and the preparation that the partial entries contributed to has produced a person who is now ready to step through it at the level it is offering. Here is the direct description of what that gap costs. When this window passes without full entry, the provision that was arranged for it does not disappear, but it returns to the position of waiting for the next time the formation and the provision reach simultaneous readiness. And in most cases, the next time is not 6 months away. It is measured in years, not because God is withholding. Because the design of the formation requires that the formation be completed at the level the next window requires, and the formation that closes the gap between partial capacity and full capacity is the specific work of the season you are in right now. This is the seriousness behind the language of this message, not a threat, a description. The window is at maximum accessibility. The provision is in position. The formation is complete enough. And the receiver, the instrument that will hold the fullness of the window through to full execution, is the one element that has not yet been restored to its designed capacity, That is the single gap between you and the fullness of what the window is releasing. And the single gap has a specific solution that takes 8 minutes to begin. What God needs from you in this moment is not more faith, not more surrender, not more commitment to the process. He needs you to restore the instrument through which all of that faith and surrender and commitment expresses itself. Because faith and surrender and commitment expressed through a partial instrument produce partial results, and what the closing window is releasing requires the full instrument. There is a quality that every person who has passed through a closing window at full capacity describes in the same language. They describe the movement as clean. They do not describe it as easy. They describe it as clear. The direction was clear. The step was clear. The cost was clear. And the clarity held through to the action without the usual negotiation between what was received and what could be comfortably executed. The receiver held the weight. The will followed the weight. And the movement was clean. That quality of clean movement is the signature of a receiver operating at full capacity in a closing window at full opening. It is not an extraordinary spiritual experience reserved for the spiritually exceptional. It is the normal experience of a synchronized instrument receiving a clear transmission, and it is available to you right now, in this window, through the specific restoration that the next section of this message describes. In 1981, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine was awarded to Dr. Roger Sperry for research that changed the understanding of how the human brain processes complex reality. What the Nobel Committee was honoring was not simply the discovery of left brain and right brain function. It was the discovery of what happens specifically when the two hemispheres operate in synchronized coordination versus what happens when they operate at partial or sequential engagement. The difference in outcome was not incremental. It was categorical. In the synchronized state, the brain does not process reality in pieces. It processes it whole. The structure and the intuition arrive simultaneously and reinforce each other rather than taking turns. The weight of what is received can be held in both its logical and its felt dimensions at the same time. The direction that arrives is not just sensed and then analyzed. It is understood completely in one continuous act of knowing. This is the state that God designed the human brain to inhabit, and it is the state that the formation of the modern world has systematically eroded in virtually everyone who lives in it. The erosion is not dramatic, it is gradual. The stimulation, the fragmentation, the constant low-level demands that modern life places on attention over years and decades compress the synchronization until the partial state becomes the new baseline. And by the time the partial state has become the baseline, most people have stopped experiencing the synchronized state frequently enough to remember that a different quality of reception was ever available. Dr. Daniel Barone was a practicing neurologist in New York who spent the first part of his career studying the Sperry research and asking a question the research had not answered. How do you restore the synchronized state in people who have been in the partial state long enough that the partial state has become their normal? Not in a clinical setting with specialized equipment, in the regular life of a regular person. The answer took him more than 20 years to develop, test, and refine. Before I name what he built, I want to tell you about two people whose experience makes the abstract concrete. A woman from California spent years in serious and consistent faith. She attended to her spiritual formation with the kind of care that most people reserve for their professional development. She prayed, she studied, she served in her community, and she lived with a recurring experience that she had never been able to name with precision. Something that God transmitted in her time with him would arrive clearly and carry weight. And between that clarity and the moment of full response, something would dissolve. The weight would soften. The response she gave was real and genuine. but it was not the full response the full transmission had called for. She described it as sensing that she was receiving at 70% of what was being sent. The other 30% was real, but she could not hold it. 10 days after she found what Dr. Barone built, she said the 30% was no longer missing, that what arrived in prayer stayed at its full weight through the moment of action, that she had moved from a pattern of sensing the direction and then negotiating with the weight of it down to something she could hold, to receiving the direction and simply following it without the negotiation. She said it was the most significant shift in her capacity for spiritual reception she had experienced since the beginning of her faith. Not a new spiritual practice, a restored physiological state. A man from Texas described it differently. He was a builder and a provider, consistent, faithful, functioning well in the world. And he described the gap in his spiritual life as a specific fog around the most important decisions. He knew the right direction. He knew what God had been pointing at. But moving into it at the full force the knowing required was something he could not quite access. Every day there was a reason to wait one more day. And 18 months passed, with the direction clear and the movement incomplete. 2 weeks after he began using what Dr. Barone built, the fog was gone. His wife commented on it before he said anything about what he had been using. She said he seemed present in a way that was different from his usual presence. He said the decisions that had been in orbit for a year and a half landed in a 2-week period, not because circumstances changed, because the gap between the knowing and the acting closed. The receiver that had been holding direction at partial weight began holding it at full weight, and full weight knowing produces full weight movement. That is what Dr. Barone built. He called it the Genius Switch, an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence delivered through headphones with eyes closed. Not a meditation recording, not a relaxation tool, not a general wellness product. A protocol specifically engineered from the Sperry Nobel Prize research to restore the synchronized state between the hemispheres, the state in which the closing window can be fully entered because the receiver can hold the weight of what the window is releasing at the level it was designed to release it at. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one, who understands that God prepared not only the assignment, but the instrument that must execute it. The person who recognizes the weight gap in their own history and who is willing to address the instrument rather than continuing to compensate for its limitations through additional effort. The person who is standing in the closing window right now and who wants to step through it at the full capacity the window is offering. Dr. Barone and his colleagues assessed the value of this protocol at $500. In-person neural synchronization sessions in clinical settings run $300 an hour. Equivalent home equipment runs $7,000. The Genius Switch was released at $49. On this specific page today, it is available at $39, a $10 reduction from the already exceptional base price. The protocol includes 4 free bonuses: a guided visualization from a top-rated creator covering the 4 areas of life most affected by whole brain restoration, a grocery guide identifying the 10 most common foods in American stores that suppress the synchronized state, with practical alternatives, a classic text on abundance and attraction that forms the foundation of every modern approach to these subjects, and a 5-habit infographic covering the daily habits most directly tied to maintaining the restored state. All of it is backed by an unconditional money-back guarantee. Not 30 days, not 60 days. Unconditional. If what has been described does not become your experience, at any point, every dollar returns. The confidence behind that guarantee is the confidence of a mechanism that works, because the mechanism is built on research that won the Nobel Prize. Every day the closing window is at maximum opening is a day that the provision positioned within it is available at full accessibility. The $39 access to the Genius Switch is not guaranteed beyond this page, and what is positioned inside the window is not small. It is the fullness of what the entire season of preparation has been building toward. There are products available on other platforms that use similar language to what has been described. Dr. Barone and his team examined the available alternatives. The vast majority contain no neural synchronization mechanism. The label is easy to place on a product. The mechanism took 20 years to build. The link in the description and in the pinned comment is the only verified source of what Dr. Barone developed. If you are looking for this anywhere else, you are not finding what was described in this message. Let me give you a more specific description of what the synchronized state feels like when it is restored, because description creates a target, and having a target matters. When the synchronization is restored, the most immediate change is in the quality of what you receive in prayer. The impressions that were arriving and dissolving before they could be acted on begin to hold, not because you are gripping them harder, because the receiver has the capacity to hold them. The direction stays clear through the morning, through the afternoon, through the moment when acting on it costs something. The gap between knowing and doing narrows and then closes. The second change is in the quality of decision-making. This is the change that the people around you notice first. Not that you are making faster decisions, that you are making cleaner decisions. Decisions that do not need to be revisited. Decisions that did not require you to overcome your own resistance before you made them. The fog that was between the knowing and the deciding is gone, and the decision that follows clear knowing without fog has a different quality than the decision that had to fight through the gap to get made. The third change, which typically arrives in the second and third week, is a shift in the quality of what you attract, not supernaturally, though that dimension is real, practically. The people who belong to your assignment begin to find you more easily. The resources that were positioned for the season ahead become visible in a way they were not visible before. And the appointments that God arranged begin to happen in the sequence He arranged them in, rather than being missed because the receiver that was supposed to recognize them was operating at partial capacity. These three changes together are the signature of the closing window being entered at full capacity, and they are available to you beginning with the first session of what Dr. Barone built. The step this message has been pointing toward from the beginning is the link in the description below and in the pinned comment. The decision is yours. The clarity you are feeling right now is the synchronized state beginning to respond to the truth of what you have heard. Trust it. The window is at its fullest opening right now, and what you do in the next few minutes determines whether you enter it at the full capacity it is offering, or whether this becomes one more moment where the partial receiver held the impression and then allowed it to soften before the full response could follow. I want to be specific about what I am asking you to do, not in general spiritual terms, in specific practical terms. The link is in the description below and in the pinned comment. Go there before you close this video, not tomorrow, now, while the weight of what has been said is at its fullest. That weight is the synchronized state beginning to activate. Move from it. Wherever you are right now, take a breath that is slightly deeper than your normal breath. Not forced, just intentional. Let it fill to the bottom of your lungs before you release it. And as you release it, let whatever you have been carrying put down its weight for a moment. Not permanently, just for this moment. Now I want you to imagine what it feels like to enter the closing window at full capacity. Not the version of you that has been receiving at partial weight. The full version. The version whose receiver holds everything that arrives in prayer at the full weight it was sent with. The version that receives a direction from God and acts on it without the negotiation that the gap used to produce. The version that wakes tomorrow morning and finds the knowing still clear, still weighted, still in the same place it was last night when you received it. No dissolving, no softening, just the knowing, and the movement that follows, knowing when the instrument is whole. Let that version of you be real in your body for a moment, because that version is not a spiritual achievement in the distant future. That version is the physiological state that is available to you beginning the moment the instrument is restored. And the restoration begins with the 8-minute protocol that Dr. Barone built, not eventually, now. Now hear this, chosen one. The language of this message was never designed to create fear. It was designed to create accuracy, to give you the full weight of the reality you are standing in, so that your response would be a full-weight response rather than a partial one. God uses the word absolute because the fullness of what he has arranged in this window requires the full version of you, not as an ultimatum, as an invitation matched to the magnitude of what is on offer. You have been faithful through the seasons that preceded this window. The formation was real, the testing was real, the character that was built in the difficulty is real, and it is permanent. None of it was wasted, all of it was necessary. And the window it prepared you for is now open at its fullest. And the instrument that will carry your faithful preparation into full expression is ready to be restored. The provision that God arranged for this season is specific. The connection he positioned is specific. The assignment he is launching is specific. And all of it was arranged for the full version of you, not the partial version, which means the most important thing you can do in this season is not pray harder or believe more fully or surrender more deeply. It is restore the instrument through which all of that prayer and faith and surrender expresses itself. And the restoration is available for $39 before this page changes. I want to say something about the people who will be affected by your full entry into this window, because the chosen one does not carry an assignment that impacts only themselves. The people in your household, the people in your community, the people downstream of the assignment you are being sent into, they have been waiting for the full version of you to arrive. Not the version that is sincere and willing and partially executing, the version that is operating at the full capacity the assignment requires. A child waiting for the parent who is fully present. A community waiting for the leader who can hold the full weight of the direction. A spouse waiting for the version of you who is no longer negotiating with the fog. What they receive from you in the season ahead depends on whether the receiver is restored. The circle of impact of your full obedience in this window is wider than you can see from where you are standing right now. God can see it. That is why the urgency is real. That is why the language is final. Because the stakes extend beyond your own destiny to the destiny of everyone who belongs to what your full obedience releases. And he is asking you not to turn away, because turning away costs not just you but them. Every delay costs something, not in the sense of punishment, in the sense of design. The provision that is positioned inside the closing window is positioned for a specific time. The appointments that God arranged are arranged for a specific sequence, and every day the receiver is not restored is another day the sequence does not move at the pace God arranged it to move at. The window is still open, the provision is still in position, and the restoration is available right now. This is your absolute final message, not because God runs out of messages, because the message that matches this specific window, the message that addresses the specific restoration required for the specific provision available in this specific moment of your life, will not be more clearly delivered than it is being delivered right now. And what you do with the clarity of this moment is the most important decision you will make in this season. Do not turn away now. The window is open. The receiver can be restored. And what God has arranged on the other side of your full entry is more than the season of partial capacity could hold. Enter at full weight. The arrangement was made for you. The window is for now. And the full version of you is available beginning today. Let me walk you through what the 30 days following the restoration of the synchronized state look like, because specificity matters more than general encouragement when a person is standing at the threshold of a closing window. In the first 3 to 5 days, the change is subtle and internal. A quality of quiet begins to settle in the mind that has not been there before, not the forced quiet of someone trying to be still. The natural quiet of a system that has stopped running at the friction of partial synchronization. Most people notice it retrospectively. They notice on day 4 that something that was constant in the background of their thinking is no longer there. The cycling thoughts, the low-level negotiation that was always present, the friction between what was known and what was being done about it has lessened. Not disappeared yet, lessened. In the first week, the quality of prayer changes. This is the change that the people who use this describe most consistently. The impressions that were arriving and dissolving before they could be acted on begin to hold longer. The word that arrives in the early morning stays through the afternoon. The direction that was clear in worship is still clear at lunch, when the cost of acting on it is visible. The weight does not dissolve. The weight gap is beginning to close. In the second week, the decisions that have been circling begin to land. This is the most commonly reported experience across thousands of users. Not that decisions become easier in the sense of costing less, that they become cleaner. The fog between the knowing and the deciding is gone. The direction is clear, and the decision that matches the direction follows, without the usual period of negotiation that the gap used to produce. And the decisions that land in the second week are often the decisions that were circling for 18 months. Not because circumstances changed, because the gap closed. In the third week, the people around you begin to notice. This is not because you announce what you have been doing. It is because the person they have known in partial capacity is now present in full capacity, and the difference is visible in the quality of your presence. You are more fully in the room when you are in the room. More fully in the conversation when you are in the conversation. More fully in the prayer when you are in the prayer. The fullness of your presence is the signal that the full instrument is operating. And by the end of the first month, the provision that God arranged for this season begins to become visible in a way it was not visible before. The appointments he made begin to happen in the sequence he arranged them in. The connections he positioned begin to find you. The doors he opened begin to be recognizable as doors rather than just walls in unfamiliar rooms. The closing window, entered at full capacity, releases what was inside it at the pace that full reception allows. This is not a timeline I invented. It is the consistent description of the experience of the 18,000 people who have now used what Dr. Barone built. The specifics vary by individual. The direction is consistent. Restoration produces reception. Reception produces movement. Movement produces the quality of life that the formation was always preparing for. I want to say one more thing before the closing of this message, because it is the thing that is most important to receive at full weight. God did not send this message to burden you with the weight of a closing window. He sent it to release you from the weight of a partial instrument. The language of this message was not there to add pressure. It was there to add clarity. The clarity that the full weight of a final window deserves. And what the clarity is pointing at is not a threat. It is an opening. The fullest opening the arrangement has ever been at. And the receiver that enters it at full capacity is the receiver that was always supposed to be available to you. The formation was for this. The preparation was for this. The seasons of testing and growth and refinement were for this. and the instrument that carries the prepared person through the open window is ready to be restored to the capacity it was designed for, right now, in this window. On this page, do not let the weight of this message leave you at the comfortable level. That would be the one response that this message was not designed to produce. The comfortable level produces deferral. The full weight produces movement. And the movement that the full weight produces is the movement that enters the closing window and accesses everything God arranged inside it. Chosen one, if the weight of this message is real in your body right now, leave the word window in the comments. If you know someone who is standing in their closing window without knowing how to fully enter it, share this message with them. They do not need to understand neuroscience. They need to know the window is open and the instrument can be restored. What you are about to click is not a trial of something uncertain. It is access to a mechanism that Dr. Barone spent 20 years building and that 18,000 people have now used to close the gap between what God transmitted and what they were able to hold. The $39 is not a question of whether you can afford it. It is a question of whether you are willing to pay 1/10 of what a single clinical session costs to begin the restoration today, rather than carry the partial instrument into another season. And the guarantee removes the only risk that ever existed. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment. $39 today, 4 free bonuses, unconditional guarantee, the verified source, the mechanism that Dr. Barone spent 20 years building from the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry. Like this message, if the weight of what was said here landed the way it was meant to carry, come back to this channel, because what comes after the closing window belongs to the person who entered it at full capacity. And that person is you. To the chosen one who received this message at full weight and chose to move from that weight, may the closing window yield everything God arranged inside it. May the receiver that holds the full weight of what he transmits be restored and remain restored. May the provision that was positioned for this season become fully accessible, and may the assignment that was waiting for the full version of you begin in the quality of movement that the full instrument produces. The window is open, the receiver is being restored, and everything God prepared for this season is now available to the full version of you.